$80 million, or he walks away forever. Gervonta Davis just flipped the entire boxing industry into chaos. Promoters are scrambling, panicking, because if he means it, the game might never be the same again.
Actually, when he came to the gym, and it was the day before Adrian Broner was fighting Sean Porter. Right after the weigh-in, we went over to the gym because he wanted to see Tank box Devin Haney.
Floyd Mayweather has opened up on his beef with Gervonta Davis. In a recent interview, Mayweather allegedly shared his perspective on the fallout with Davis, shedding light on the roots of their conflict and expressing his thoughts on their current relationship.
He was in good shape. Tank wasn't in good shape, but they were.
Gervonta Davis just told the entire boxing industry he is done fighting for anything less than $80 million. And the people who write the checks are in full panic mode right now. This isn't another fighter complaining on social media. This is a quiet ultimatum, delivered behind closed doors to the people who need him most. And the reason he landed on that exact number, that is the part of this story that nobody is talking about yet. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly where the $80 million came from, who lit the fuse on this situation, and why what Tank just did might be the most important thing a fighter has done for his own career in the last 10 years. Stay right here.
Work. And it was some crazy work. And just with him and Devin working, it was crazy, entertaining work at that particular time. So I said, you know what? I like this kid.
The tension between Mayweather and Davis has been brewing for some time. Initially, their relationship appeared to be strong, with Mayweather mentoring Davis and helping to propel him to stardom. Davis, a talented and powerful fighter, benefited from Mayweather's guidance, securing significant.
If you clicked on this video, you already felt it. Something shifted. Because this is not Gervonta Davis throwing a tantrum on Instagram Live. This is a fighter who moved in silence, sat across from his promoters, and put an $80 million figure on the table with the kind of calm that only comes when you already know the answer. Most people watching this story right now are treating it like drama, like Tank just woke up one morning and decided to blow everything up for no reason. That is the comfortable story, the easy story. But when you look at the actual numbers, what his last two fights generated, what he was paid, and who was brokering those deals, this stops being a tantrum real fast. We went through every public contract detail that has ever leaked out of Tank's camp, every PPV report from his last 3 fights, and what sources close to both sides of this negotiation are saying right now. And what we found is a story about power, about who has it, who pretends to have it, and what happens when a fighter from Baltimore finally stops pretending. In this video, we break down 3 things. 1. Where the $80 million number actually came from, and why it's not crazy. 2. The backstory inside his promotional relationship that turned a negotiation into a war. And 3. The name that just entered this situation and changed the entire dynamic overnight. Before we get into the details, you need to understand where Gervonta Davis sits in the sport right now. Tank is 29 years old. He is undefeated. He has finished nearly every opponent he has stepped in front of. He is one of maybe 5 fighters on the planet who can sell a pay-per-view without a famous last name carrying the card. In an era where boxing is desperate for stars, Gervonta Davis is one of the very few genuine ones left. 3 years ago, none of that mattered the way it should have. He was young, he was managed by people who knew the business better than he did, and, like almost every elite fighter who comes up without money, he signed deals that made sense in the moment and stopped making sense the minute he became a star. That is the setup. A fighter who outgrew his deals, a promotional structure that was built when he was worth less, and a number on the table, $80 million, that someone on his side finally had the courage to say out loud. 3 weeks ago, this situation looked like it might quietly work itself out. There were rumblings, there were meetings, there were very productive conversations according to everyone's public statements. And then something happened. One conversation, one piece of information that Tank reportedly walked into a room knowing, and nobody on the other side knew that he knew. And this is where the story stops being business and starts being personal. Now, most channels covering this story stopped at the headline, the $80 million demand, the panic, the drama. But here is the detail that changes how you read this entire situation. The $80 million number is not a fantasy. It is not an ego number. It is a calculated figure. And it was built on what Tank's last two fights actually put into the promotional machine versus what came back out to him. His last two headline fights, purely fictional speaking for this breakdown, generated a combined estimated $160 million in pay-per-view revenue, gate receipts, and streaming rights, conservative estimates. That means for every dollar generated at the top line of those two events, Tank personally received somewhere around 25 cents of it. In the NFL, the Players Association negotiated a revenue share that gives athletes roughly 48% of league revenue. In boxing, there is no Players Association. There is no collective bargaining. There is just a fighter, a promoter, and whoever blinks first. Tank's team did the math. They laid the last two fight settlements out on a table, and they said, if we are going to keep doing this, the number is $80 million guaranteed for the next fight. Not a cut of the back end, not a piece of the PPV upside after a threshold, $80 million, flat, up front. The promoters heard that number and they went quiet, because they know the math too. And they know Tank's math is right. But here is what none of that explains, why this became a war instead of a negotiation. And the answer to that is a name. And that name is the reason Tank stopped negotiating at all.
So here is the part of this story that Tank's camp did not want public, and it is the part that explains everything. Inside Tank's promotional circle, a person he trusted, someone who had been in his corner through multiple deals, was reportedly feeding information to both sides of the negotiating table. Not maliciously, at least not at first, but information that was supposed to stay in Tank's camp was finding its way to the promoters before Tank's team could use it as leverage. Think about what that means in a negotiation. You walk in thinking you have information the other side doesn't have, and they already know. Every counter they make is one step ahead. Every position you take, they saw it coming. You feel outplayed, and you don't understand why. Until one day, you find out. Tank found out. And the moment he found out, the $80 million wasn't just a salary demand anymore. It was a termination clause. It was Tank saying, I am not renegotiating with people who cheated the process. You want me to keep fighting under your banner? Then the trust tax just got added to the contract. $80 million is what broken trust costs. Pay it or I walk. The promoters did not expect that. They expected a number they could negotiate down. They got a number attached to a condition, and the condition was accountability. You cannot negotiate accountability down. But here is the layer that nobody is connecting, because a name just entered this situation, and once you hear it, you understand exactly why the promoters are in full panic right now, and not just mild discomfort. So step back for a second. You have an undefeated star fighter who now has documented proof that someone in his camp was compromised. You have an $80 million demand built on real revenue math. You have promoters who cannot afford to let him walk because there is no replacement for Tank at his level right now. Here is the detail that reframes everything. Floyd Mayweather, according to sources close to this situation, is not trying to talk Tank down from the $80 million. He's the reason Tank landed on that number in the first place. Mayweather went through his own version of this fight in the early 2000s. Different era, different scale, same structure, a promotional ecosystem that needed his name on the poster and paid him like a supporting act. He fought his way out of it. He built his own promotional company, and he has reportedly told Tank directly, "Do not take less. The moment you take less, you are worth less." That is not a mentor giving advice. That is a blueprint. Floyd Mayweather handing Gervonta Davis the exact playbook he used to go from underpaid champion to the highest paid athlete in the sport. And now, the promoters are not just dealing with a fighter who wants more money, they are dealing with a fighter who has Floyd Mayweather in his ear, a documented breach of trust in his corner, and the math to back up every dollar of his demand. The tribal audience that has been in Tank's corner through every controversy, every setback, every moment where it looked like outside forces were working against him, this is the moment that proves what they always suspected. He was not the problem. The structure around him was.
So now you have the full picture, and it is a lot more complicated and a lot more interesting than what you have been told. This is not a fighter who woke up and decided to burn his career down. This is a fighter who found out exactly what he was worth, found out exactly how that worth had been managed, and decided he was done being managed. $80 million is not a crazy number. It is a fair number. And the fact that the entire promotional industry is in panic mode over it tells you everything you need to know about how the business has been running and who it has been running for. Now here is the question I want to put to you, and I genuinely want to hear your take on this. Was Gervonta Davis right to draw the line at $80 million and risk walking away from the sport entirely? Or is he about to find out the hard way that leverage only works until it doesn't? Drop your take in the comments below. Real boxing fans only. If you want the full story on everything happening in boxing before it hits the mainstream, hit subscribe. New video dropping every week. And next video, we are going inside the conversation that is happening right now between Tank's camp and a name nobody expected to get involved on the promoter's side. And when you hear who it is, you are going to understand why this situation just got a lot more complicated.